Hello, everyone. Welcome tonight to the Bhumisparsha Community Dharma Sharing Series. I'm Karen Nelson, and I'd like to introduce Brenda Collins. And just would love to welcome you and give a little overview of what's going to happen with our time tonight. Our subject, the theme tonight is contemplating impermanence. And we'll listen to a quote, and then Ms. Brenda will lead us into a meditation. Following that, we'll contemplate a little bit with a song from the Yogi Milarepa and possibly create our own song. And also then have a kind of discussion, which is a little strange on this this crowdcast, but we kind of do it on the chat. So, yeah, and that way you can participate within the discussion, and we really appreciate when you get a chance to do that. We understand it's a little awkward, but anyway, so just I'm gonna pass it to Miss Brenda right now, and thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, Karen, and thank you for everyone who's present. We're happy to have you this evening. So, as I always do, start out with a quote or a poem, and this is by Mary Oliver. Look, the trees are turning their own bodies into pillows of light, are giving off the rich fragrance of cinnamon and fulfillment. The long tapers of cattails are bursting and floating away over the blue shoulders of the pond. And every pond, no matter what its name is nameless now. Every year, everything I have ever learned in my lifetime leads back to this. The fires and the black river of loss, whose other side is salvation, whose meaning none of us will ever know. To live in this world, you must be able to do three things: to love what is mortal, to hold it against your bones, knowing your own life depends on it. And when the time comes to let it go, to let it go. So now we'll sit. I invite you to sit comfortably in a position that is comfortable for you, with your eyes closed. Gently focus your attention on your breath. With every exhale, feel your hips, thighs, and feet settle into your seat a bit more. With every exhale, breathe. Feel a slight lengthening of your spine, a lift through the crown of your head. Notice into the movement of your breath and the subtle movement of the body, each supporting the other and holding you upright, yet grounded. You are relatively still, but there is always movement present, always change, always process, always an ebb and flow. Notice the continual presence of change in your breath and in your body. And now silently say to yourself, My death is certain. As you speak the words, remain aware of your breath and your body. Notice any change, tightness, tension, and use exhale breath to release it and let it go. Just as the breath rises and falls, every single thing in the world comes into existence, stays for a while, and leaves again. You're not exempt from the natural order of things. This natural ebb and flow, you are a part of this cycle. And you too will someday no longer be here. As you contemplate this, stay present with your body and breath. Stay tall but relaxed. At ease in your shoulders, your belly, your hips. And now silently say to yourself, the time of my death is uncertain. As you speak these words, notice any changes in your body or a response to the breath. Take care to continue breathing patiently and fully. Take care to allow the body to soften. We cannot know the future. Anything can happen at any moment. And our lives are so fragile and precious. As if with a flash of lightning, this one life could end at any moment. As you contemplate that reality, note what's happening in your body and with your breath. Choose ease and the sense of freedom. To control the futile. So we choose instead to go with the flow. In this moment, recognize the flow of the breath itself and generate a deep, deep gratitude for the fact that you are here, healthy and well. You could not know when it will all disappear. So rejoice for this opportunity, this one breath. And then say silently to yourself, the only thing that can help me at this time, at the time of my death will be my own mind. And just notice if there is a reaction in the body or in your breath. Recall that no matter how many friends you have, no matter how many people love you, No matter the family gathered around, none of these people can go with you at the time of your death. When it's time, you will leave this world on your own. Recall that no matter how many things you have accumulated, no matter how much money you have in the bank, no matter how much you surround yourself with the comforts of this world, none of it can go with you. When it's time for you to leave this world, the only thing that can help you in that moment will be your stability of mind, your clarity of mind, your ability to be present, patient, self-compassionate, and wise. Sit with these thoughts. Notice how it feels in your body and allow it to develop within you. A bit of a sense of urgency. The opportunity you have to work on strengthening your mind is nowhere other than right here, right now. The opportunity you have to live a meaningful life is nowhere other than right here, right now. The opportunity for you to have a kind and make amends, to give thanks to the present, to be present, is nowhere other than right here, right now. Contemplate how it is that you would live each day. If you truly believe with your whole body that each breath could possibly be the last, contemplate the effort that you would place on mindfulness, meditation, and your mind. If you truly believe with your whole body that each breath could possibly be the last, if you truly believe with your whole body that only your mind could save you at the moment of your death, contemplate on these ideas. Experience your breath. recognize that you are doing exactly what you should be doing right now, right here. Rejoice in this time you're spent meditating. Rejoice in the importance that you have given to mindfulness. Rejoice in this opportunity, this moment, this breath. Thank you for your practice, and thank you for being present in this moment. Now I'm going to turn it over to Karen for a beautiful song.
Thank you, Ms. Brenda. I'm unmuting. It might be mute your mic for sound quality. Yeah, thank you.
Great.
Yeah, thank you so much for that practice. I don't know if people would like to comment on your experience at all in the chat before we launch into another kind of little chunk of our evening. We didn't do any introductions, but I'm glad to see people are joining, and feel free to offer anything that's coming for you at any time. Feel free for that. I know that was super deep, and thank you so much, Miss Brenda. That was really profound. I'm going to read. Okay, I'm moving on. I'm going to read from a book called Wake Up to Your Life. It's why do we spend time thinking about impermanence and death in Buddhist practice? Contrary to the views of our culture, death is not the opposite of life. It is the end of life. As such, death is as much a part of life as birth is. When we ignore death, we cannot know what life really is, and therefore don't experience it fully. Instead, we take what is transitory, money, fame, power, relationship, to be real, and base our lives on achieving what cannot last, like happiness, wealth, fame, and respect. When we base life on what can be taken from us, we give power over our lives to anyone who can take it away. We become dependent on others and on society for a sense of well-being. We give our lives away to others and to what others deem to be important. We will die one day, that much is certain. When and how, no one can tell. If we are vividly aware that death can come at any time, however, our attention goes into the actual experience of life, not into the effort to achieve fame or fortune. When we truly understand that everything is transitory, we see money, fame, power, and even relationships in a different light. The hold of conventional notions of success and failure is broken. Living in the knowledge that every relationship we have is going to end, we take nothing for granted and savor every moment with our spouse, parents, children, friends. Meditating on death and impermanence frees us from the conditioning of culture, society, and upbringing, and brings us closer to life and closer to the mystery of being. That's a book by Ken MacLeod. Thank you. Okay, well, the meditation that everything changes, that we know that everything changes, everything we experience is impermanent. And it's helpful to consider how everything changes, how nothing stays the same. Like changes in the world, changes in our body, changes in personality, even, and belief systems. And the longer we live, the more we can see changes in our lives, how we've changed. But even in a day, how my attitude can shift from, or a belief can change so quickly. That meditation, Miss Brenda, I gotta share right now, I think I can say it, is when I noticed I was like attracted to things in my environment, like a sound or something. And then that very breath, I was like, okay, this is my last breath. And I let go. It was the most profound letting go, like somehow not pushing anything away, like, or laying trips on myself, like I should be, focused. It was much more like just really letting go, and that the thing, the environment, the thought, the whatever was there really receded in a way that gave a lot of space. And so that was super, that really brought a warmth in a way of gratitude for practice. Also, the question came to me, I hope you don't mind me sharing this, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. Okay. The question came to me like, okay, if I'm letting go of this body, like, well, what is my mind? Like, oh, it really made me want to understand what is mind, or, to kind of reach into that question in a experiential way. There was a reminiscent moment of like chud practice too, where your body becomes a corpse. That also was interesting. And one other piece I would love to share, I have a friend who's rather old actually right now, like, almost 20 years older than me, so in her 80s. And we had a funny little bickering moment the other day. And so, just a little testy feeling remained between us. And when I was in the practice just now, I had that moment of this could be my last breath. And then I flashed on her, and just so much gratitude came for the fact, a kind of compassionate gratitude, like knowing that we're both in the same boat, like we're both gonna die, and that this little bickery stuff is so unimportant, is so beside the point. And it was so beautiful to feel that come forward in my experience right now. So that was a great meditation for me. Yeah. Do you want to say anything about anything, or I can pass?
Yeah, I want a couple things. This is probably one of the most fundamental teachings of Buddhism, impermanence. Um, in Buddhism, we know that the source of human suffering and discontent is that which we crave and cling to. And we try and hold on to the way it is in that moment and not accepting changes. And that's what causes us to suffer. You know, our bodies decay, and as you mentioned, um, our hair fall out, our teeth fall out, our mental attitudes change, we get dementia or whatever we get, you know. Um, and so just to feel the pain of impermanence and loss can be profoundly beautiful reminder of what it means to just exist. And that's the lesson here tonight, is that to be present to what is and be grateful for what is. I looked at uh, the COVID as impermanence. Because all collectively, all of our lives changed when the pandemic hit. All of our lives. Typically, you know, it's an individual thing, and it's still individual. We have individual experiences, but collectively, this thing really changed things for all of us. There's a lot of pain, there's a lot of death. Um, we had to change our moment by moment habits, as you want to call them. Our job locations changed. We had to work at home, and we had to make an adjustment for that. So the good thing is that we were able to make adjustments to all of these changes that affected all of us. For me, the pandemic also brought to my attention, my awareness, the importance of relationship, authentic relationship. And that means that we have to really look at our authenticity in order to see it in others. It allowed me to look at myself with how busy I am, and making sure that what I'm doing is authentic, what I really want to do, and can it really be a benefit to others. I've learned how to bake. That was a good thing. But impermanence is painful. But again, as I mentioned, it can be profoundly beautiful because we're really getting in touch with who we are individually so that we can be of benefit to others collectively. I just want to say that. Yeah, I have more to say later on, but yeah, that I wanted to share.
Thank you. That was also, thank you for bringing that, because that was also a big experience I had, was a real feeling of grief for that this beautiful life, this beautiful opportunity to be alive will change in that, you know, biggest way, that the life will end. Although it's also true that it's always been changing. that's yeah. So thanks. Yeah, sitting there in that moment of like appreciation was also like a mix of grief and gratitude. It's really interesting. Thank you. Okay.
I also recognize the fact of the importance of my breath, the importance of just being present. Um, and what do I do in that moment? Yeah, well, what am I experiencing in that moment? There's no clinging. I'm not attached to anything in that moment. which is very refreshing and very heart opening. I now have a little of an appreciation for the birds in the morning. And the fresh air. And still know that I may go at any moment.
Yes, and how helpful it is to do these contemplations on death, even though at the time it can be very intense. But then later, as we're moving around, there can be this lovely kind of recognition of the preciousness of being alive, and appreciation for that as well. Yeah.
I would love to hear how other people appreciate how are they experiencing impermanence.
Yes, I would love that too. Folks feel
Love
like
it. We'd love to hear from you all. Talk about how are you experiencing impermanence? And are you benefiting from impermanence? I remember I was cleaning up my all my stuff in my basement. And I kept saying, I want this, I want that, I want this. But the day that I went down there and said, I can't use it, so I'm going to give it to someone else, was the day that I said, oh, I became detached from that particular item, um, which had history with me. But I was very happy to be able to detach from that. That was the lesson for me. So let us hear from you. You mentioned the pandemic. We're all been affected by the pandemic. How has the pandemic affected you? What effect has it had on you?
I see Jesse has written about, you say, the weather is changing and it's finally warm again. I'm enjoying this impermanence.
Okay, I don't see anything. Okay, here. Okay, there we go. Okay, all right.
Oh, good. Oh, good. You're
Yeah, yeah. Hmm. Yes, I agree with you, Jesse. It is. And can be appreciative of the weather. You can do different things in the warm weather than you can in the cold, and vice versa. The cold weather is great too. But being able to see that and experience that is awesome.
well. Maybe I could go ahead with the Milarepa song, and then we could.
That'd be great. We could do that.
Okay, might
I
be
would
good.
love.
You're gonna mute your.
Yes.
Okay, and anytime you want to put something in there, folks, please do. Okay, so this is a song by the Tibetan yogi uh, Jetson Milarepa, who lived around the 11th century, 10th, 11th century. Okay. And it was translated by students of Khenpo Sultram Rinpoche, and they have this whole song book that they've made, and they put things to some tunes. This is going to take a couple minutes, but hopefully you'll be able to hear it. I'm not a singer, but when we studied these songs at this retreat in Nepal, Rinpoche would say, sing our song, sing our song. And then we'd sing in English because a lot of his students were translators. And but they would say, like, just everybody sing because it purifies your speech to sing. And that, so everybody, no matter what, however good they could sing or not, was singing. So that's a little, what do you call that? Disclaimer. That's a disclaimer. Or a reclaimer. I want to be a reclaimer instead. Reclaiming my voice. Okay. It's called 8 Things to Remember. All right, I'm going to put some character into it. Yogi Milarepa. At the moment you are fond of large estate sites, you surround yourself with a manor and its grounds. But when your time has come to go, you'll have to leave it behind you like an empty shell. Are you aware that this is what will happen? You do well to remember and keep it well in mind. At the moment you are fond of fame and fortune, you surround yourself with power and pomp. But when your time to go has come, who will you turn to? Not a refuge in this sorry world for you. Are you aware that this is what will happen? You do well to remember and keep it well in mind. At the moment you are fond of family relations, you surround yourself with relatives and friends. But when your time to go has come, you'll have to leave them. Kin and dear ones, every last one. Are you aware that this is what will happen? You do well to remember and keep it well in mind. At the moment you like admirers and helpers, you surround yourself with children and good things. But when your time to go has come, you'll leave without them. Empty-handed and stark naked you'll depart. Are you aware that this is what will happen? You do well to remember and keep it well in mind. At the moment you are fond of material comforts, you surround yourself with the status of success. But when your time to go has come, your body will fail you. Then it's fit for nothing more than to put it in the ground. Are you aware that this is what will happen? You do well to remember and keep it well in mind. At the moment you are fond of your good condition, your faculties work and your physical state is fine. But when your time to go has come, it's another story. You no longer have any power over your mind. Are you aware that this is what will happen? You do well to remember and keep it well in mind. At the moment you are fond of the palate's pleasures. You surround yourself with delicious food to eat. But when your time to go has come, your appetite dwindles. You won't even manage to get a little water down. Are you aware that this is what will happen? You do well to remember and keep it well in mind. By keeping these in mind, I practice Dharma. I know the bliss of having no worldly goods. This melody on 8 things to remember, sung at the Karakachi Inn in song, composed by I, the Yogi Milarepa. May it give you the boost you need to practice well.
How beautiful. And thank you for that beautiful song. Perfect for impermanence. We'd like to hear some comments. Does anyone have thoughts or comments? We'll give them a few seconds. Are we clinging? Are we attached? Are we attached to things? And if so, would you like to share that? What are you attached to that you would like to let go of? Okay.
Okay, so that's a great prompt, Miss Brenda. I thought we could make our own little song, and I
Okay.
wonder if we could do a like a 3 minute writing exercise with folks in the room. And I know there's a few people here.
Okay.
We know there's a few people here. So if you would like to join us, please do. And if we could just, you could even use the chat if you wanted to write in the chat.
Mm-hmm.
If you felt like typing for a few minutes, to just think of things that are like coming to your mind about impermanence, and maybe that collectively we could put that together to make a little kind of song or poem or shared experience, and have an interaction that way.
Okay.
So
I like that.
does that sound okay, Miss Brenda?
Sounds wonderful to me.
Okay, and before we start, I'm gonna or as we start, I'm gonna ring the bell. And there's something so profound about how a bell has a beginning, a middle, and an end. the sound of the gong. And it's such a beautiful felt moment of impermanence to remind ourselves. And then I'll gong again when we're done. But I just love to invite you to do so. If you have a pen and paper, or you can type into your something, to just keep it moving. You know, just free form. Don't worry about it. And you don't have to share it, or you can. Okay. So I think I'll do three rings.
Okay. We're just
Could you say that again, Miss Brenda?
yeah. If anyone in the audience is confused about what we're doing, we're just putting in thoughts about impermanence. I like that. Very nice. Very nice. Mm. Very cool. So I guess what we'll do, does anyone have any comments or thoughts um, before we close? I like to read, Caitlin, I like to read something. I would love to read something. Okay. When you open yourself to the continuing changing, impermanent, dynamic nature of your own being and of reality, you increase your capacity to love and care about other people and your capacity to not be afraid. Quote from Pema Chodron. Yes, thank you, Jessica. Jesse, beautiful. Yeah. Mm, thank you. The Dalai Lama says, awareness of impermanence and appreciation of our human potential will give us a sense of urgency that we must use every precious moment.
So, unless there's anyone else who wishes to um, chat something, or maybe it's time for us to settle and then dedicate the merit. Does that feel right? Timing to you, Miss Brenda?
It feels perfect timing.
Okay. So I'd love to remember to collect all awareness that I have of, that all of us have, myself included, of suffering that has and is happening around us and within us. And may we dedicate any benefit from this practice to all our mother sentient beings to whom we are connected in all realms. And to know that we all share this nature of impermanence, that we all die. And that knowledge of this death that we face brings great appreciation and gratitude for this very life we live. And may that appreciation touch every being who is suffering now. And may this effort of this practice roll the ball of momentum so that all of our practice can gain even more energy to work for liberation and enjoy our lives and this great gift that we've been born into. I have one last little song.
That was beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah. I lost my book, but I think I remember. Oh yeah, here. It goes, all you sentient beings I have a good or bad connection with. As soon as you have left this confused dimension, may you be born in the Western Sukhavati. And once you're born there, complete the Bhumis and the path.
Thank you again.
Thanks again.
Very lovely voice.
Oh, a little squeaky.
we hope you enjoyed this evening. Please give us some feedback, and we'd love to hear feedback from you. And again, we really appreciate you being here, and we will see you next time.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Jessie.
Thanks, Jesse. Good night.
Good night, everyone.